Well, today I'm going to talk about Adlestrop. What a strange word, Adlestrop. It's one of those place names that carries a lot of history in it. Strop is similar to the word Thorpe that you see in other place names. It means village. And Adlestrop is a tiny little place in Gloucestershire in the Cotswolds. The Cotswolds is famous as the heart of England. If you think that Stratford-on-Avon is in the Cotswolds and that's where Shakespeare was born and grew up, it's hugely resonant as a place name. Now, the poem I'm going to read today is by Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas is a poet who died in the closing days of the First World War. He spent his life working as a writer and critic, mostly writing literary criticism and travel books. And he'd walk up and down through the length and breadth of England and wrote curious travel books that mixed close observation of nature and literary and historical references. Adlestrop. Yes, I remember Adlestrop, the name, because one afternoon of heat, the express train drew up there unwontedly. It was late June. The steam hissed. Someone cleared his throat. No one left, and no one came on the bare platform. What I saw was Adlestrop. Only the name, and willows, willow herb, and grass, and meadowsweet, and haycocks dry. No whit less still and lonely fair than the high cloudlets in the sky. And for that minute a blackbird sang close by, and round him, mistier, farther and farther, all the birds of Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire. So, why choose Edward Thomas and Adlestrop for this series of videos that are an attempt to help you understand English culture and the English way of seeing? One of the things that I think is particularly interesting about Edward Thomas is his desire to speak the language of common people. He was a voracious reader. He was a critic and he was a writer of travel books. And as he walked the landscape of England and Wales, he engaged in conversation with common people, that is, the people that worked the land. In fact, those common people came to be key figures in his imagination, along with his friends and fellow poets. He advocated using common language, the language of ordinary people in poetry. Poetry should be available to understand instantly. It shouldn't be larded or filled up with uh, Latinate words or with imported words or excessively complex or technical words. On the other hand, he liked to keep all the common words for example, meadowsweet there. He didn't use the Latin names for flowers and trees. This appeal of literature to the common man and this appeal of an educated man like Edward Thomas to common culture, I think is a key aspect of English culture. And it's something that you can understand and appreciate and helps you as a second language learner of English to really get inside the English mind. Sometimes it's easier when you're learning another language to use the words that your language shares. But those Latinate words in English do not make a connection with the deeper Anglo-Saxon culture. And that Anglo-Saxon culture here is told right at the beginning and in the title of this poem, Adlestrop. And as I said, strop is an old English word for village. Edward Thomas is appealing to a deep history of language and sentiment in this poem. And sadly for him, he died at the end of the First World War, but perhaps in one sense happily, because after the First World War, things changed in the United Kingdom and in England particularly. Uh, Farming went into decline, the countryside changed, and after the Second World War, there was a whole industrial revolution in the countryside, which led to a complete change in the way things were done and appreciated. So here we have a poet sitting at a key moment of change, calling out to the common man. And if you are a common man like me, then you will appreciate Edward Thomas.